Good morning, everyone. How are we? Welcome in. I wanted to go over this coverage, things that are going on over in Australia. There was an incident over at Bondi Junction. I think it was like 5 days ago. And then just one or two, I don't know if this happened yesterday, another incident at a church. So let's pull it up and let's watch it together and discover it together. So let's get started real quick.
Hello, I'm Mark Ferguson, live from Bondi Junction. Tonight, we remain a city in shock. The pain and grief is unbearable as we learn more about those we've lost and the agony being felt by their families and friends.
And we grew up together. Yeah, I don't know. She was just the most perfect human being that I've ever met.
The most seriously injured are still fighting for life. Others are thankfully back with their families.
Definitely counting our blessings that she's still here and alive and breathing and still with us.
We have a lot to report about the killer, Joel Couchy, a drifter who spiralled in recent years. We have the critical final hours before he unleashed his terror and mass murder. Also, the heroes everyone wants to hear from, who tried to stop him with bollards and chairs. We speak with them exclusively.
We really tried to stop him.
You've saved lives.
Well, I hope so.
And the police officer who bravely stopped it all in a split second.
And her actions yesterday saved many, many lives.
There's so much still unfolding here tonight as we continue our extensive coverage of this tragedy here in Bondi Junction.
Live from Sydney, 7 News with Mark Ferguson.
Good evening. This is a special edition of 7 News as Sydney grieves the senseless loss of 6 innocent lives to a crazed killer, now identified as a 40-year-old man from Queensland with an obsession with knives who deliberately targeted women. Tonight, tributes are growing for those murdered and the dozen people stabbed, 7 still in hospital, 2 in a critical condition. We're also learning of the extraordinary acts of bravery by shoppers who sprang into action to stop the stabber and the lone female police officer who confronted him and then shot him dead. Just why and how this tragedy unfolded as families were enjoying a Saturday afternoon here is becoming clearer. Robert Ovadia begins our extensive coverage.
Sydney is grieving at Westfield Bondi.
In a place that we work in and socialise in and we live in is not right.
At church services.
I was devastated. Just that horror of those people.
You can see it, you can feel it. These are the victims of the Bondi Junction massacre. Dawn Singleton, daughter of media mogul John, architect and mother of 2 Jade Young, Westfield security guard Faraz Tahir, 38-year-old new mother Ash Good. One day, if her baby girl survives herself, she'll be told what mum did for her on April 13, 2024, a day the worst of humanity inspired the best of us.
The events of yesterday have shocked the nation.
Ash's baby was stabbed in her pram and mum chose to thrust her to strangers to protect her rather than protect herself from a maniac.
That is Ash through and through. She did what any mother would have done to protect her child. She was one very, very special lady.
Joel Couchy's knife would kill Ash, 5 others, and wound many more.
We are continuing investigations in relation to him. He's a man, as I said, from Queensland. We believe he came to New South Wales last month. We are and have spoken with his family. We'll continue to do so, and they are cooperating with us.
Couchy has a history of schizophrenia. Wearing an Australian Kangaroos rugby league jersey, he embarked on a stabbing frenzy that has sickened Australia.
Sydney has suffered a horrifying and violent attack on innocent people who were doing something everybody does on the weekend, and that is going shopping.
And we heard everyone screaming, a gun, gun, gun. And it was like an apocalyptic film, everyone just running like a rampage.
These pictures show what he means. The reaction as shoppers were first hearing what was happening before seeing for themselves. A man running with a pram, the killer himself accosting someone. Shoppers fleeing different directions, all with the same urgency. Detective Inspector Amy Scott was running too toward the danger. And as the killer targeted women far more than men, ultimately it was a woman who killed him.
I was behind the police officer when she discharged the firearm, and I have to admit she was amazing. She gave him clear instructions. He lunged straight at her, and she shot him. She went straight from shooting this guy to giving CPR, and then what she did is she went straight to policing. She moved people away.
That image that we see of her bending over to try and resuscitate a man that she's probably just killed is a compelling hero image.
She's with her family today, which is important, but this state owes her an enormous debt of gratitude.
Amy Scott was not the only hero yesterday. Some armed themselves with chairs, others threw them, and French national Damien Guiraud held off Cauchy with a bollard as he advanced up an escalator.
I see the situation. I don't see the guy. I don't see who he was. I just see someone crazy doing crazy stuff. That's it.
We are not looking for anyone else, and we have no other concerns, and people should not be concerned that there is any ongoing threat.
Cauchy had arrived at Westfield Bondi Junction a couple of hours before the massacre, carrying the backpack from which he would draw the knife. He ate lunch there.
He just looked like confused, just like when taking order is taking like a long and just just order chicken curry, just like that.
Shoppers and shop owners were back at Westfield today.
I locked the door. A couple of people came in wanting to feel safe, which I let them in, closed the door and just watched everything unravel.
As floral tributes continue to mount, there are those who know they are fortunate to have escaped.
The panic was huge, like people were screaming and babies were crying and mums were hysterical as well.
Those at one of 4 Sydney hospitals fortunate to have escaped death but not injury. That includes Yvonne Weinberg, who was released today.
Definitely counting our blessings that she's still here and alive and breathing and still with us.
And there are others haunted by these images as they tried to save the injured and dying. Bondi lifeguard Andrew Reid is among them.
Then we did a little bit more CPR, but she was in a really bad way. I just went around the corner of the escalators and what I saw was just horrific. Like it was just multiple victims spread out over like 50-metre distances. Just devastating to think that someone could do something like that to anybody, let alone a baby.
In the immediate aftermath of this atrocity, the possibility of terrorism for police was compelling, not only because of the random nature of the attacks, but also specifically because of where it was, a Jewish enclave against the backdrop of conflict in the Middle East. It wasn't terrorism, though, and at least one of the victims is Muslim. Faraz Tahir fled Pakistan as a refugee, dying as he protected citizens in his adopted country. Dawn Singleton was raised not far from where she died.
Most perfect human being that I've ever met. Like, she's so sweet, so humble, so down to earth.
Of 11 patients transported to hospital, 10 were women. Most of the dead were women. So was that an ideology, or were they just softer targets?
I can say that the man has never been arrested by police in Queensland, nor has he been charged with any criminal offence.
Cauchy was diagnosed with schizophrenia aged 17. He was raised in Toowoomba.
He sort of kept to himself. He was quiet. He didn't mix a lot with other children, I don't think.
His family is in shock.
They have sent a message to the New South Wales Police Force with respect to support of the police officer who has killed their son and expressing their concerns for her welfare.
Cauchy came to Sydney earlier this year. No fixed address, and his belongings were kept at a storage facility. A male escort with no criminal history who gains infamy now as one of Australia's worst mass murderers.
People going about their Saturday afternoon shopping should be safe, shouldn't be at risk. And for people who were forced to be locked in shops, people who ran from danger, people who confronted that danger, ordinary Australians putting themselves in harm's way in order to help their fellow citizens. That bravery was quite extraordinary.
We have our team standing by in key locations across our city and overseas with the very latest details. First to Robert Ovadia. Rob, this mall has become a focal point for a grieving community.
Mark, absolutely. And the floral tribute will continue to grow and grow over the next couple of days, keeping in mind it is Sunday evening. We've seen plenty of people here today, but businesses will open and there will be plenty of people around tomorrow and attracting customers and people who just want to be a part of that in that terribly emotional way. Tonight here at the scene, there are clearly those who knew some of the victims or knew some of those who have been caught up in this. They're quite emotional. There are others who are just here to pay their respects. And tonight, as we go to air, just a couple of minutes ago, it began a tribute from sections of the Muslim community, not only to the Pakistani refugee who was killed in this horrific act, but for all the victims here yesterday.
Robert Ovadia, thank you. Paramedics, surgeons and nurses have performed brilliantly across the city, operating on 12 stabbing victims, among them a 9-month-old infant. Chris Marr is outside the Children's Hospital at Randwick. Chris, how is the baby girl doing tonight?
Mark, after hours of surgery, her family says she is doing well. She's listed as critical but stable. Now, with 5 discharged, there are now 7 victims still being treated in 5 hospitals across Sydney tonight. 2 females remain in a critical condition. Another is listed as serious, as families and friends of those who have died are left to confront shock and devastation.
They're the faces of a nation's grief, the tragic victims of an unspeakable rampage. 38-year-old osteopath Dr. Ashley Good.
She was just such a beautiful soul. Just breaks my heart to think that she was in her prime of her life.
Died protecting her 9-month-old daughter. Friends say she wouldn't have hesitated.
Not at all. That is Ash through and through. It's what any mother would do.
Bondi lifeguard Andrew Reid was in the shopping centre during the attacks, tried to help badly wounded victims. He knew Ashley Good well from local running groups.
She just wanted to be a mum. That's all she just wanted to be a mum, and she finally got given that opportunity, and now it's been taken away from her.
Ashley herself recently posted about being a mother. It's the most incredible, amazing, fun, wonderful and challenging thing. Yesterday, she stood up to the most violent of threats.
Ash showed what kind of hero she was. I can't even imagine what it was like for her in those moments.
From Ashley Good's family, today we are reeling from the terrible loss of Ashley, a beautiful mother, daughter, sister, partner, friend, all-round outstanding human and so much more. The daughter of former North Melbourne great Kerry Good.
He kicks this, they've won the game.
Today, in honour of Ashley, the Kangaroos wore black armbands against Geelong.
Ashley, a beautiful little girl. Not going to have a mum, you know, it's like breaks our hearts.
Ashley's partner, Daniel, now by the side of their injured baby daughter in hospital. In South Australia, his family is well known to its premier.
You know, coached them in cricket. I know their parents. And it is incomprehensible that such a beautiful family has been so aggressively affected.
So has the family of 25-year-old e-commerce assistant Dawn Singleton, the eldest daughter of businessman John Singleton.
She was just the most perfect human being that I've ever met. Like, she's so sweet, so humble, so down to earth.
She died just a few months from being married to her police officer fiancé. One friend saying, "Dawn, I should be writing your wedding speech. Instead, I hear sobbing. This year, you were meant to get married to the love of your life. I'm so broken and can't believe this is reality."
I can't fathom it. I just can't.
Also killed, architect and mother of 2, Jade Young, a member of the Bronte Surf Club. A spokesperson said the impact of this senseless and tragic event will affect us in different ways over time. 31-year-old security guard Faraz Tahir, a refugee from Pakistan. Yesterday was his first day shift at Bondi Junction.
Taking care of the poor and needy people. I have seen, that he was a very nice person, actually.
So much sadness.
Whether you know the individuals who've been killed or not, you're grieving today.
Chris Marr, 7 News.
And a short time ago, we heard from the family of the killer, Joel Couchy. Let's go live to Annie Puller at Waverley Police Station now. Annie, what have they had to say?
Mark, Joel Couchy's parents released a statement saying they have no issues with the police officer who shot their son to protect others. They go on to say, "We are absolutely devastated. Our thoughts and prayers are with the families and friends of the victims. Joel's actions were truly horrific and we are still trying to comprehend what has happened." They are in close contact with New South Wales and Queensland police as officers in both states work to determine what motivated the 40-year-old to commit such a senseless act.
He's the crazed killer who ordered a curry hours before embarking on a stabbing rampage.
I just feeling lucky because he didn't do anything in the restaurant, you know.
Rogate served Joel Couchy twice yesterday inside Bondi Junction's Saigon Noodle. The 40-year-old strolled in just after 10 a.m, sporting a backpack and a rugby jersey. He tried to order but didn't have enough money, walking out the door, only to return 2 hours later for a down meal.
When taking order, it's taking like a long and just, okay, I'll just order chicken curry, just like that.
Couchy was there for less than 15 minutes before security video captured him stumbling down Oxford Street and falling over just before 1 p.m. 3 hours later, he was attacking people at random.
Oh, shocked. When I heard his name this morning, I couldn't believe it.
At his family's home in Toowoomba, Queensland, neighbours are in disbelief.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know why.
They say he suffered from schizophrenia and had a strained relationship with his parents.
I think it was a couple of months ago. He came, he was knocking on the door, and I don't know whether they weren't home but no one answered.
7 News has been told Couchy developed a fixation with weapons and posted this scathing review online after getting his knives sharpened in Brisbane. "I put the knives in of the need to be sure that the cutting edge was the correct type, and he has left me with 2 essentially wrecked knives."
He said he was his day-to-day knives, which I thought was a bit of a strange thing to say.
One was a large hunting knife.
He was very, very stale, I suppose, very, very blank, no real expression on his face.
School friends say he was prone to random outbursts of anger, no criminal record, but he was active on social media, posting images of himself to several community groups, including this escort site in Sydney, describing himself as an athletic, good-looking guy.
I can say this gentleman has been itinerant over the last few years.
His parents saw this frantic video on the television last night and contacted police, saying it was their son.
Their first thoughts for us were to express their concerns regarding the family and victims of these crimes, and in particular, their thoughts around the police officer who had to bravely act in such a manner.
The 40-year-old had been living in Sydney for less than a month and was living rough between his car and a small storage shed, which he rented out in March. 7 News understands police searched this Kennards facility in Waterloo last night and are now working to backtrack every possible movement. Locals in Bondi claim he was at the Westfield the day before yesterday's devastating attack.
He definitely got what he deserved. The fact that he's just gone around, killed people in the back, stabbed in the back, had a little baby as well, it's pretty low act.
Annie Puller, 7 News.
As we've heard, the shock from the Westfield tragedy has been felt around the nation and around the world. Deepest, though, here at Bondi Junction. Taylor Aiken joins me now. Taylor, planning's underway for official public acknowledgement of the many victims.
Okay, let me check one other thing. There was another video I wanted to show you guys that was... If I can find it, let's see. I just had it up earlier. It was another incident that occurred here. It's just craziness. I think this is it right here.
And Anthony Albanese has called for calm, he's called for unity, saying Australia is a peace-loving nation and that this is a time for the community to unite.
This is a time to unite, not divide as a community.
No one is asking for retribution or to take the law into their own hands. And it's my great plea to everybody in Sydney to heed those calls from the New South Wales Police, the government and major religious leaders.
Bishop Mari Emanuel was delivering a live stream mass at Christ the Good Shepherd in Wakeley when a 16-year-old boy allegedly charged in and attacked the Christian leader at the altar. The suspect then turned to another clergyman, slashing him. Parishioners pinned down the knifeman. Worshippers watching online swarmed to the scene. A crowd of 50 rapidly surged to up to 500. Officers responding to the incident came under attack from the mob, pelted with bricks, fence palings and metal objects. At least 2 were taken to hospital. 20 police cars were damaged. At least 10 were written off. Paramedics treating up to 30 injured patients had to retreat inside the church for safety. 6 of them were holed up for 3.5 hours, fearing for their lives.
Joint counter-terrorism task force has been established overnight, including officers from the Australian Federal Police, the New South Wales Police and ASIO. The AFP Commissioner, Rhys Kershaw, says that this incident will have a significant impact on the community, but he has assured the public that the task force is investigating this incident from every single angle.
I declared that it was a terrorist incident.
We have overwhelmingly a harmonious society in Australia. In my local community, people of different faiths live side by side, and that is overwhelmingly the experience of Australians.
The alleged knifeman is a 16-year-old boy. 7 News can reveal that he is a recent high school dropout. He also appeared in court as recently as January of this year and had been handed a good behaviour bond. Detectives were seen combing through the teenager's parents' home today. They were assisted by members of the dog squad and removed a number of items of interest from that property. Police do believe that this was a religiously motivated attack. In it, that 16-year-old is said to have sustained injuries to his own hand and is being treated in hospital today. Bishop Mari Emanuel is in a serious but stable condition. He sustained injuries to his head, neck and torso in the incident last night, but we understand that the religious leader has already forgiven his attacker. Members of the church community told Sunrise this morning that after he was set upon, he prayed for his stabber.
People just get angry because, you know, they feel a lot of love for Bishop and feel a lot of love for Father Isaac. But me personally, as a Christian, we should forgive that man who's done that. And for whatever reason he's done that.
Members of the church community have been maintaining a vigil outside Liverpool Hospital where the bishop is being treated today. In light of the riots last night, the church released a statement today thanking them for their support but urging them to dissipate and calling for calm and peace.
To Bondi Junction now. Live to reporter Lucy McLeod. Lucy, their absolute heartbreak was highly visible today.
Oh, it absolutely was. And Ashley Good's mother was in tears as she arrived on site today, reading letters from strangers, collecting toys and teddies left for her grandchild. Ashley Good's father was also here as well, surrounded by a group of supporters as they laid a bouquet, but they weren't the only family to arrive on site today. Others were escorted inside the centre by police to try and get some kind of closure and understanding of what was happening inside when their loved ones were killed. But and this afternoon, the support is still growing for them. You can see the vigil here is just getting bigger every minute.
7 News can detail exclusively the 4 minutes of bedlam that confronted police from 3:35 p.m. Male with a knife running around, persons running everywhere. From another, holding what looks like a weapon, everyone is running. It gets worse. Informant saw person of interest male stab others. Informant has a puncture wound, stabbed through the jumper, declining ambulance. And worse still, as victims are identified. Female was sighted on the floor, blood on her face. Possible one person not breathing, female. Police react. Eastern Suburbs 16 proceeding. Eastern Suburbs 14 proceeding. Eastern Beaches 400. Eastern Suburbs 35. But before all of them, Eastern Suburbs 10 proceeding. That was Detective Inspector Amy Scott on her own, about to confront a mass murderer.
Saved lives, and we pay tribute to her.
3:36. Reports of another female lying face down after being stabbed. Multiple victims. Then inaccurate reports. Active shooter, people screaming and shots fired. No shots yet, though. From Inspector Scott, Eastern Suburbs 10, male has gone upstairs. A minute later, she races to level 5. Eastern Suburbs 10, Rebel, Meyer and Harvey Norman, I'm in foot pursuit. More casualties, possible one person not breathing, female, and then Eastern Suburbs 35, shots fired. Informant has heard gunshots. And from Inspector Amy Scott, Eastern Suburbs 10, one male down outside Priceline, male down, 50 years old, knife secure.
Joel Couchy is understood to have visited 2 Westfields in Penrith and Parramatta before the stabbing frenzy here in Bondi, potentially scoping out another site to attack. The Commissioner is right now investigating that as they try to piece together his movements and try to understand what he was thinking at the time. As for those who went up against him, well, they were being hailed as heroes. The Prime Minister has even offered French national Damien Guerrero citizenship for his bravery as he fended off the attacker with a bollard, protecting families and children behind him.
Damien Guerrero has been dealing with visa application issues. Anthony Albanese says the French national is welcome to become an Australian citizen.
Although that would, of course, be a loss for France. We thank him for his extraordinary bravery, that someone who's not a citizen of this country stood bravely at the top of those escalators and stopped this perpetrator from getting onto another floor and potentially inflicting further carnage on citizens.
The Prime Minister says he can stay for as long as he likes.
And the Prime Minister says, well, he understands the anguish and the anger that's out there in the community after last night's events and, of course, after the tragedy at Bondi. He has condemned those members of the public who turned on police last night. He says it's never okay to take the law into your own hands, and it's just not acceptable to impede police who are just trying to do their jobs.
Okay, I want to read you guys a little something here. Hang on.
Good.
On the community, but he has a.
So apparently, this gentleman was the Bondi Junction, or if they say Bondi, it sounds like they're pronouncing it Bondi Junction. That attacker was known to authorities. However, he had not had any previous criminal offenses in the state. They said on this past Monday that they had concluded their examinations of the shopping mall and the crime scene was being handed back to Westfield. More than 100 pieces of evidence were removed and will be forensically examined as part of the investigation. The baby is fine from what they're doing. The baby's recovering. That's the baby of Ashley Good. It says that we can report that after hours of surgery yesterday, our baby is currently doing well. Can you imagine? Said in the darkest of times, sometimes the brightest of lights. Staff have literally performed miracles and people are alive because of their efforts. Talking about the hospital. There were 2 men that were held and cared for. No, wait. I'm wrong. There were 2 men that held and cared for the baby after the incident or during the incident. And then the one male that was also announced dead was Faraz Tahir. He was only 30 years old. He was the on-duty security guard just doing his job. And there was another hero who's been offered citizenship. He's from France. And then you've got the other guy, Scott. Was his name Scott? No, that was the officer, Amy Scott, who shot the attacker. He had moved. So, talking about the attacker, he had moved all over the place in the last few years, often sleeping rough in his vehicle. And the last interaction with Queensland police was in December of 2023. And it was like a street check. So I guess he was sleeping on the street. They found him sleeping in a vehicle or out of backpacks. And the family doesn't have regular contact with their son. I bet they were scared of him. He had not been prosecuted or charged with any criminal offense in Queensland or found in possession of knives in the in the street checks. The family said he battled with mental health issues and his actions were truly horrific. We are still trying to comprehend what has happened. We are in contact with both the South Wales Police Force and Queensland Police Service and have no issues with the police officer who shot our son, as she was only doing her job to protect others, and we hope she is coping all right. Wow. The father of the attacker said that they were heartbroken for the families of the victims. He said, "I am extremely sorry. I'm heartbroken for you. Look, this is so horrendous that I can't even explain it. To you, he is a monster. To me, he was a very sick boy. He was a very sick boy." Huh. It's just sad. And then you've got the 16-year-old going off at the church, when did that happen? It just started raining here. I hope that I don't start having bad issues. Let's go over here.
All right, a couple of announcements.
From inside this church, Bishop Mari Emmanuel's sermons attract huge crowds.
If the Lord chose this day where he's showing his divine light, who am I to say no?
When parishioners filled the church Monday night for Bible study, they bore witness as their bishop was stabbed. The alleged assailant, a 16-year-old, was pinned down by churchgoers and police.
Yeah, what? The people are praying you're going to come and do this?
Go.
You're going to
Stop.
do this?
Just let go. Just go, please. You're going to make it worse.
No.
The boy appears to grin as the melee unfolds.
You think that hurt my brother? You think that hurt my girl?
A clip of the alleged attack spreads online. Then word the teenager was still inside the church.
Bring him out here! Bring him out here! Bring him out! Bring him out!
Soon, the streets of Wakeley in Western Sydney are filled with hundreds of devotees, onlookers and police.
Yeah, we came here after my mate sent me the video, and it just kept getting worse and worse after that. Everything got vandalised. Cop cars got vandalised. Even the church got vandalised just because people were trying to get in and try and get the guy.
Desperate to get inside the church, the crowd turns on the police. The police push back.
I've just been pepper sprayed. I am burning, on fire. It took me half an hour I'm on fire right now. My ears killing me. Went in my mouth, my nose, my eyes, but I didn't do anything. I was just in the crowd. See, now we're gonna probably get hit, so we gotta go.
So as you can see, there are riot police behind us. It's a really chaotic scene. We're about, I think, a kilometre, 500, 600 metres from the church now. Looks like we have to move on again. They're pushing all the protesters this way. People are trying to get their cars from inside, but it's all blocked off now. Moving the crowd from the church does little to quell tensions. On the street, threats are made against Islamic places of worship. A chopper circles overhead. Onlookers told us they were drawn to the scene by their deep reverence for Bishop Emmanuel.
I feel like a lot of people see him as like a father as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
Even people that haven't met him, because he's actually like, a lot of people know him because he's social media and everything.
He means a lot to me because we all love him. He respects every other religion. I still don't understand that the other guy did that to our priests.
He actually suffered for our sake.
Another religious leader was injured at the church.
He's only gonna lead you to good pasture.
Today, it was revealed paramedics had taken shelter inside. Bishop Emmanuel, now recovering, had recently warned his life was under threat.
Look, I was extremely excited when I heard that I have 2 weeks to live, because I don't want to stay in this world, and I pray that the Lord takes me today before tomorrow. I want to be with him.
Bishop Emmanuel has made his name as a conservative firebrand. He rose to prominence during COVID, criticising lockdowns and vaccines, and preaches anti-LGBTQ views.
When a man calls himself a woman, he is neither a man nor a woman. You are not a human, then you are an it.
His stabbing was soon declared a terrorist act.
We believe there are elements that are satisfied in terms of religious motivated extremism, and of course the intimidation of the public through that person's acts.
The teen has previously been charged for offences, including possessing a knife. Faith leaders were quick to condemn Monday's alleged attack and the behaviour of the crowds.
We are united. We're all of one voice in the fact that we completely reject what happened last night. We all reject any kind of hate or violence done for whatever reason, whether it's religiously motivated or not. We all, as far as we're concerned, what happened last night was not an act of religion. It was an act. It was a crime. It was an act of hate, and needs to be responded to on those terms.
This was the third high-profile stabbing in Sydney in almost as many days. A 16-year-old was charged with murder on Friday after allegedly stabbing teen brothers in Sydney's west.
Let's get out of here.
6 people died and a dozen more were injured at Bondi Junction on Saturday.
A lot of people were concerned. They've seen the scenes from Bondi. They've seen members of the public chasing the assailants, trying to stop the assailant. And I guess they didn't want a repeat of what happened in Bondi right here. So that's what probably drove people over the edge last night.
Tensions were still high when some followers returned to the scene today. This is what happened when we approached one follower who came to pay their respects.
Do you know me? I don't know you, and I've never seen you in the church, and I'm there every single day. So don't talk on behalf of people. Don't talk on behalf of people.
As Sydney tries to recover from a brutal week, leaders hope the city can unite.
In Australia, there is no justification for any kind of violence or hate on the basis of religion, and all of the religions are united on that point.
That's why many people come to Fairfield. They flee terrorism. They come here for a better life, and to have this happen, we expect to have a safe environment.
I just wanted to catch you guys up on what was going on over there, because it's, with everything else going on in the world, it's not getting a whole lot of coverage, and I just thought we would touch on it. I know Harry had sent me a comment about it, and bless his heart, he was there shortly before the attack. I want to thank you all for watching. Please send your prayers out to everyone in Australia. Also out to everyone in the Middle East for all that's going on there. Those that are innocent victims in all of this. You guys have a blessed day, and I will talk to you very soon.